You want the middle? Or so it's okay.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's okay. So good afternoon and welcome to the pre-match press conference of Team USA before the FIFA Women's World Cup final USA against the Netherlands. The final will take place tomorrow at 5 p.m. here in Lyon. A warm welcome to the head coach of the USA, Jill Ellis, and to number 15, Megan Rapinoe. But as you know, before we... Okay.
You got me in your press conference, honey.
I was going to do this.
But as you know, before we start with the press conference, I want to request you to switch off your mobiles or set it in silent mode if you need a translation. So please be sure that you have downloaded the FIFA interpretation app. So today we offer, of course, English, French, and Dutch. If you have a question, so please raise your hand, wait for the microphone. First, tell us your language you will ask. Introduce yourself, so tell us your name and your organization, and then we can start with the press conference. I want to request you, the photographers, to stop taking photos after 5 minutes or to leave the press conference. And now the floor is open for the first question. The Korean one, please.
First, a question to Megan Rapinoe. I talked to many players of all the teams during the World Cup, and many said, well, you are an inspiration by the way you stay to your values and ideas. What do you feel with this honor to be honored by the place like this? And second question, do you know how many players would go to the White House if you are invited after the game?
You trying to be sneaky? I mean, I think, you know, admiration from your peers, it doesn't get much better than that. Obviously, we're competitors on the field, but off the field, we're all on the same team fighting for the same things. So that's means a lot to me and a lot to the team at large. I know that we take a great deal of pride in doing our part to push the game forward and just seeing how much we've been able to be a part of this incredible movement and try to help push the game forward and change things, not only in our own country, but abroad. So we take a lot of pride in that, as I said, and that is very special. I don't know. I haven't spoken to everyone about it. Obviously, not myself, not Ali Krieger, and I suspect not many, if any, of the other players, but I haven't spoken to every one of them about it.
Bonjour. Hi, Laura Martel, Radio France Internationale. My question will be in English. A word about your opponent. Which assets of them could cause you trouble? Are there any players or tactics that you're going to be especially watchful of?
Thank you. For me?
To both of you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the Netherlands are a tremendous team. They're European champions. They've got a lot of talented players and a coach who knows what she's doing. So, you know, I expect it. You know, we've watched a lot of film and kind of tried to follow every team through the tournament in terms of just being a fan and watching games. And, you know, they move the ball very well and very disciplined in what they do. So, I expect it to be a very competitive match.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you get to the final of a World Cup without being a fantastic team front to back, being able to play multiple different ways. I think in this tournament they've had the lion's share of the ball in a lot of games, but they've also just had to dig in and grind out wins. Some of them come easy for them, some of them have been very difficult. That's a sign of a very good team. So to make it to this level, obviously, and play in this game is tremendous. And like Jill was saying, champions of Europe. We've seen firsthand the last 3 games what it's like to try to go through Europe like that. It's very difficult. The quality is so high, and for them to be champions of Europe and have that sort of pedigree and experience under their belt, I mean, they're a great team for sure.
Okay, you were the next. The microphone here, please. Please raise your hand.
Nancy Armour, USA Today Sports. Jill, you and Serena are going to be, it's only the second time that there are two.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I want to request the technique,
so
Peter,
loud
the
up
sounds to take it a little louder, that we can hear. Again, please, the question.
You and Serena, this is only the second time that there have been two female managers in the final. What does that say, or what kind of message does that send, or should that send? And what do you know of Serena coaching? I know she did spend some time in the U.S.
Yep.
a long time ago, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a wonderful statement. I think it's, you know, there aren't enough of us in the game, in coaching. And I mean, I think especially in the States at every level, whether it's collegiate, whether it's our professional league, I think we need more women in coaching, 100%. So I think it's a wonderful statement. I think it's great. You know, the players do their thing on the pitch, and I think, you know, there's a lot of young women or former players that want to coach, and I think to see coaches doing it, I think is really important. Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because Nico Ramjan, who works for U.S. Soccer, I think he took Serena through her license and then took me through my license. So I think both of us have kind of had a similar person. But yeah, I mean, utmost respect. I know she played in the States, but you know, she's leading a squad and they're playing good football. So you know, tremendous respect for her.
So now I want to request the photographers to stop taking photos, so we can understand more. So the next one on this side.
Hello, Milena Jimon for the DirecTV Latin America. Two questions. One from Megan. Happy birthday, by the way. Are you okay to play on tomorrow? And Jill, is everyone okay? Rose Lavelle, I think, was also injured from the last game. Thank you.
Yeah, as of now, I'm expecting to be ready for tomorrow. I feel good. That's all I can really say right now. Obviously, I have one more training session. As you guys know, I'm pretty open and honest with you, so nothing hidden or anything. But I expect to be good to go for tomorrow, and very excited about that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think as you know, the other players, I think having this extra day has been huge for the players, and you know, at this point, no one's been ruled out, so that's encouraging for me as the coach.
Okay, now the first row in blue, please.
English, Grant Wall, Sports Illustrated. For Jill, just looking at your guys' journey the last few years, I can remember a game in, I think it was March of 2017 in DC when France beat you 3-0 and you had a 3-4-3, and it was pretty grim. And I'm wondering what you were thinking that night and then how things got put on a path that eventually led here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, coming out of the Olympics, it was a moment to kind of reflect and look at, you know, making sure we played competitive games and still, you know, increasing our roster in terms of finding players, you know, Rose Lavelle and these types of players. So yeah, I mean, I think it's sometimes it's part of the growing pains when you want to sort of shift something. You know, sometimes those results happen, but I mean, in terms of the process, and the process is to get to this point. I mean, full credit to the players. You know, we built the system around them. They're kind of the gasoline that makes it work. And you know, we're just it's a great group to work with, and I think they've, you know, embraced a lot of the thoughts and plans. But like I said, it was that process was to get to this point with players that are in the right spots, and so I think that's kind of happened.
The left side.
Hi Jill, Martin Rogers, Fox Sports. We've seen in the history of women's and men's World Cups, it's very, very difficult to defend a title. It hasn't happened that much, especially in recent times.
Thanks, Martin.
I was just asking, what are some of the challenges this time that you've faced trying to defend the title compared to winning it last time in 2015?
Yeah, I mean, I don't look in the rearview mirror too much. So like I said, we've always wanted to kind of go at this and attack it. You know, and don't get caught up in sort of statistics of what the past was. Yeah, I mean, I think historically it's obviously been very hard. I think no team has won the World Cup and then repeated with the Olympic Games. And so, you know, those statistics out there. But I feel so good about this group. It's a very different group. You know, they have a closeness that you know, that you're optimistic to have as a coach, but if sometimes it doesn't always come to fruition. This is a very, very close group, and I think that's been a big part of what's empowered them to be at this point. And obviously, I think we've got talented players as well. You can't do it without this. So, yeah, I mean, I think we've come through a tough road, as I've said before, in terms of the teams we played to get to this point. So for sure, they're battle-tested. But what I love about this group is they are locked on and they're still hungry. So that's kind of where we're at.
Second row.
English, Meg Linehan, The Athletic. Megan, I know that you've talked a lot about in the past about getting fans out to NWSL games. Obviously, we're about to have this huge wave of interest. It's already happening. Portland had a huge crowd last night with first-time fans.
Shout out to the Seattle Rain. Me and Allie were talking so much shit this morning. It was so good. Very quiet from the Portland players, by the way.
So speaking of that, just in terms of obviously a television deal just announced this week, 14 games on ESPN networks. What does that do in terms of visibility? What are you hoping for this summer in terms of actually taking this energy and then bringing it back to the U.S. and actually having the league kind of get another step forward in terms of its foothold in the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, the deal signed with ESPN is tremendous for us, obviously, to get us that kind of exposure and the quality. It seems, for whatever reason, we're constantly having to remind people that the quality is there and the entertainment is there, and obviously the competition is always there. You know, World Cups and Olympics and big moments like this always provide that extra boost, and it's going to, go up to a level. Maybe it's not going to sustain, but we just hope that this time it gets there and kind of levels out a little bit. I mean, I think that obviously the players and the teams and the clubs are doing everything they can to put the best products out on the field. Obviously, we're going to get all of our U.S. players back, but there's a ton of internationals as well that you've seen at this World Cup, and hopefully to attract more as well. But yeah, it's just about kind of riding this moment, but also figuring out ways to capitalize on it and shore up kind of the foundation and infrastructure of it all to grow the business so we don't have kind of a big moment that goes down. But it should be a very exciting back half of the season. I think everybody is looking forward to getting back to their club teams. We keep an eye on the standings all the time, obviously. But it should be a tremendous summer heading back to the NWSL.
So the first row.
Jerome Pugmire, Associate Press. Question for both of you. The Dutch goal against Sweden was one touch foot, was very quick. You've both praised the Dutch, but I want to ask you, in what way are they a different threat from the teams you've faced so far? What do they bring that's different from the other teams?
I mean, they like the ball. They want to have the ball. I think we've seen other teams want us to have the ball in terms of creating more of a transition game. This is a team that wants to have the ball, get in a big shape, and kind of wear you down with their passing game. And they have good variety, meaning they'll look to get in behind immediately, and they'll look to play in front of you and around. So it's a lot of variety. They're excellent in their positioning in terms of being in good spaces to receive the ball. And, it's the 4-3-3 of the Dutch. It's what they live and breathe, and they've probably seen it since they were 5 years old. So they're very well schooled in that system. And then add to that, the personalities of the players.
Yeah, I think for me, just looking at this team, the European champions, that's a very difficult thing to do. That takes a certain level of discipline and mental strength and all of the kind of intangibles that we talk about outside of the playing field. So this team is tested against the best competition for sure in the world in this tournament, and then obviously in Europe. So they kind of have that idea of what it takes to win a championship more than the other teams that we face.
The third, not the second, the third one beside you. Yes, the same row. Yeah.
Question in English to Megan, just picking up on the theme from earlier. Is it ideal for the Women's World Cup to actually have two female coaches in the dugout on the final? And is it the view of both of you, the fact that there should be maybe only women coaches allowed at the Women's World Cup, since that's what we have with players? And just for you, Megan, is there any difference you've noticed as a player being coached by a woman, being coached by a man, whether that's logistically in the locker room or actually the tactics or anything else around the game or an awareness?
Mm-hmm. I've actually had, at least in my professional career, I think I've had more female coaches than the male coaches. Tom was here, obviously, for a year, and then I've had Blatko only for a year, but Pia before, and Jill, and Laura Harvey, and Emma Hayes. So I guess there's something working there. I think the conversation about should we, mandate women's coaches is not really the conversation to have. It's we need to have a conversation of, providing the foundation for more women coaches to excel to this level. I think we talk about the same with the referees. Should we have only female referees or not female referees? Well, we should have programs that put women in the positions that when they get to this level, they're just being judged on their skill in the same way that a man would be judged on his skill. So I think at this point, we need to focus on the programs, the licensing programs, and getting more women involved and being able to have more women, throughout the club ranks and the youth national team ranks, and obviously up into the senior ranks. So then you're getting to the to the position where you maybe have 10 candidates, and it's sort of equal on both sides. But I think trying to mandate a gender quota before you have a gender quota in the licensing programs is probably not the best way to go.
No, yeah.
Hey, Alicia Delgado, Pro Soccer USA. This is for kind of both of you, and a little bit, you talked about it already a little, Megan, but the 99 World Cup was seen as kind of a movement for women's soccer in the United States. This World Cup feels like maybe bigger, a movement globally. How do we sustain that after the World Cup, not just in the United States, but around the world, so that this doesn't, fall off and be forgotten?
Money, 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 right? I mean, money from FIFA, money from federations, money from advertisers, sponsors, rights holders, TV, all of that. And obviously not just, blindly throwing cash at things, but, investing in infrastructure, in, training programs or academies for women, in coaching for women, in all of it. I don't think you sort of get to the point of having an incredible business by running it, on a budget that's $1 more than it was last year. You have to make big upfront investments and really bet on the future. I think that the women's game has proved time and time again, World Cup after World Cup, year after year, that we're worthy of the investment, and that I think the quality on the field and the product on the field is there, and we just need that sort of business step to be in line with all of the steps that we're making on the field in terms of performance. So for me, I always say that it's always money. So all the investment, I mean, you look at, the teams in Europe that have invested in their teams or different federations around the world, there's the clearest correlation that you could possibly have with money invested in a federation and, the level of play and the product on the field and the level of success that these teams are having. So for me, it's about the Benjis.
So now, the man with the beard there. Yeah.
Hi there, Steve Futterman from CBS News, Megan and Jill. Megan, first for you. You've been here before, you've been to Olympics before, you've had success in both. Can you talk about the pure basic excitement that you have being in this position again, even though you've been successful before? And for Jill, I want to know if you can talk about, if the U.S. wins, can you, and I don't want to put you in a difficult situation, but what this means to the idea of women's soccer in the U.S. Megan talked about that briefly already.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I'm like a kid in a candy store right now. This is the absolute best stage. I can feel already more anxious and more nervous than in the other games. And just, looking around and seeing it in my teammates, that kind of excitement, anxious focus that you have to have in these moments. I think we've done a really good job, especially the veteran group on the team with the younger players and with the whole group, of really allowing everyone and helping everyone experience this whole tournament to the fullest, because there's ups and downs, there's great moments. You can't just be sort of this blank wall and completely focused all the time. That doesn't exist as a human being. We've celebrated the amazing moments. We've dug in, looked each other in the eye in the hard moments, and gone through things as a team. And we get to this final moment, and it's one more game, and it really is just about experiencing that game in its fullest for the last time. So I feel like, for me, I'm just so excited. Obviously, being here before, I'm like, okay, I'm getting more anxious, but at least I've know that that's sort of normal, but it's at the same level, but everyone's kind of feeling the same. You just see that glitter in everyone's eye.
Yeah, I mean, your hope is, obviously the sponsorship thing as well, but you also, your hope is back in the US that more kids want to go out and play this great sport. I mean, that's, ultimately the building block you build on. So I think it's, my hope for back there is exactly what Megan alluded to, is that more people get on board financially, sponsors, they see the value in it, they see the marketability of it. And then more little kids want to go and kick a ball around. That hand in hand, that would be the best gift we could give back to our country.
Next question. So there.
Yeah, a question for the coach, please. Odin goes from Aftenposten in Norway. Sherida Spitze is the player in the tournament with the most assists for already, and most of them from the set pieces. I mean, how important is it to not give her those opportunities and to take her out of the game so she can't deliver those passes?
You must have been at the game plan meeting. Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, she's a tremendous threat in the air. So, we certainly have to not give away, cheap tackles or fouls to give them those opportunities. And then it's making sure we can deal with that. But I will credit our team. I think we are fantastic on set pieces. I think over the past year, we've made massive strides, and regardless of who's in our lineup, they know their role. They execute it very well, but certainly, we'll have to make sure we're sharp tomorrow. But, I feel like playing Sweden and playing England and playing France, these are all very good set-piece teams, and I would put Holland in that group as well.
The third row, please.
Sarah Wirtz from Germany. Megan, FIFA President Infantino just said yesterday that he wants to spend further 500 million into the women's soccer, which is great. But at the same time, FIFA sets up 3 finals on Sunday. How does it fit together? Do you feel enough respected?
No, of course not. No, I mean, it's terrible scheduling for everyone. Don't you guys feel disrespected by that? I mean, as someone who works in football, someone who plays in football, that's a terrible idea to put everything on the same day in every way. Especially, I mean, obviously there's 2 other finals going on, but this is the World Cup final. This is like cancel everything day. So no, I don't know how that happened. I think I heard somewhere that it was they just didn't think about it, which is like the problem, that you just didn't think about it. When the World Cup final is set, so far in advance, it's actually unbelievable. So no, I don't think that we feel the same level of respect, certainly that FIFA has for the men and just in general. But that's good to hear about the investment piece. We should probably double it, but we can get to that later.
In the middle? No, the next, the row before? Before? In front, sorry.
Thank you. My question is for Megan Maroon from Nigeria. I just wanted to know for you what has been the highlight for you throughout this competition, and was there a moment at some point that you felt the team could go all the way to the final?
I was actually just telling our FIFA crew that's been embedded with us yesterday. They brought me a little bit to tears yesterday. I'll try to keep it cool today. But I think the highlight for me, obviously being an older player, one of the captains on the team, one of the veterans, just seeing the younger players rise to this occasion has been incredible. Roosevelt just absolutely balling out. Sam, Lindsay stepping in. Press scoring a goal and, having the celebration that she has after everything that she's gone through this year is just like absolutely incredible. So for me, it's every game. There's another moment that is so special and so special about this team. And I know everyone always talks about with a team, you want to be close and have that kind of camaraderie. Jill alluded to it earlier, but we really do have a very tight team and a very close team who, whoever needs to be leaned on in that moment, the whole team is comfortable leaning on that one person. So just to see the way everyone has stepped up and embraced their role and you know, done it with such passion and joy this whole time. It's just been absolutely incredible. And then for the second question, I mean, I always feel like we can win. We have that sort of undying, blind confidence in ourselves always, whether it's a 4v4 game or, you know, a sprint test or whatever, World Cup final, whatever it may be. We always have that sort of mindset that we're here to win the game in front of us, win the next game, you know, ultimately get to the final and, you know, put everything on the line to win the final.
Now the row behind.
Hi, Katie Gornall, BBC. Question in English. I just wanted to pick up on that financial question that was asked earlier. Gianni Infantino also said that he was going to double the prize money for the Women's World Cup, the next Women's World Cup. That's what he wanted to do, to 60 million. For the next Men's World Cup in Qatar, the prize money pot is 440 million. So the gap is actually going to grow between now and then. I just wonder whether you think that's fair and what your reaction to that is.
It certainly is not fair. We should double it now and then use that number to double it for, you know, or quadruple it for the next time, obviously. I mean, I think that's what I mean when we talk about, do we feel respected? You know, earlier in the year, maybe it was last year, a quote came out that I said, you know, FIFA doesn't care about the women's game. And that's what I mean. So if you really care about each game in the same way, are you letting the gap grow? I'm not saying that our prize money is 450 million this time or next time around. You know, I understand that for, you know, a lot of different reasons, the men's game financially is far advanced than the women's game. But I mean, if you really care, are you letting the gap grow? Are you scheduling 3 finals on the same day? No, you're not. Are you letting federations have their teams play 2 games in the 4 years between each tournament? No, you're not. So that's what I mean about the level of care. We need attention and detail and the best minds that we can possibly have in the women's game, helping it grow every single day. I understand it's a very complex, you know, problem or complex, you know, thing to be a part of, but the resources are there, and I think the willingness and the brain power is all there, and the people wanting to work in the women's game and make it as good as we can. It's all there. It's just a matter of wanting to do it and caring enough about it to make it happen. I mean, we're making a World Cup in Qatar happen. That's shows you the kind of care they have about, you know, the Men's World Cup, considering all of the issues that are happening there.
So the second last question to the man in the middle is getting.
Hi, Megan and Jill. Derek Van Dies from Post Media in Canada. I just want to pose this question to both of you. The United States set the bar about 30 years ago for women's soccer, and for 30 years the rest of the world has been trying to catch you guys, and it hasn't been able to do it. I just want to know, in your opinion, what's been the secret, and how do you keep ahead of everybody else when everyone else is starting to pour a lot of money and a lot of resources, and they see where you guys are and they want to get to where you guys are?
I mean, I actually push back a little on that. People always talk, oh, there's a gap. You've seen these games. There's very little between the teams in terms of, you know, ability and that. I think resolve, we have fantastic resolve. And I actually think in our country, you know, we're not having 16-year-olds train with professionals in that kind of environment. And I think that's going to hurt us. In Europe, you know, a 16, 17-year-old is training with, you know, 25, 26-year-olds because of just the structure. We're still on the model of 16-year-olds playing against 16-year-olds. And I'm not saying to restructure the whole model. We just need to elevate and advance the players out of their age groups so they get better competition and they're challenged more. But, you know, I think, yes, I definitely think... I think Anson Dorrance said this, you know, we had a 10-meter start and a 100-meter race because we got on board quickly and a federation that got behind the game quickly. And obviously a country, I mean, I moved there to be able to play, you know, I mean, we never had these opportunities. But now I think, and I think a lot through this team being a beacon for the sport, I think you now see all these other countries that, have professional leagues, that have an infrastructure, that have little girls wanting to play. I mean, it was completely, mind-blowing to think a woman would play soccer in England, 20 years ago. And now it's probably the most popular sport there for women. So I think this, what this team has been able to do, this program has been able to do, is really advance the magnitude of this sport. And I think, that's a credit to, again, all the players that have come before, all the coaches that have come before. But I think, in terms of us being here, I think there's a lot to be said about the resiliency of our players, just the attitude of the players, and them wanting to seek out other environments. They've gone overseas. They're now invested in a domestic league. Because they recognize that if we'd have sat status quo, it wouldn't be at this point. I don't think we'd be in another final.
I think just to add on that, our federation is case in point of, funding the team very well. Obviously, I'm the first to step up in the fight with them, but and nudge them a little bit more. But they have backed us tremendously. And in comparison to every other federation in the world, I don't think it's close. I think that's why, at least in large part, a big reason why we've been able to be as successful and as dominant and stay at that level for as long as we can. So we don't often give them kudos, but that's definitely one that I'm willing to give, that they back the team in a very strong way. And have pushed the game not only in our country but around the world to a level that without us we wouldn't be here in the world game. So I think that they do deserve a tremendous amount of credit for that, and we'll continue to nudge them forward.
So now the last question to the women in blue.
I've said that before. They know that. It's now on a billboard. Yeah.
Amanda from TV Globo Brazil, the question for Megan. During this World Cup, especially in the semifinal, there was sort of an idea that the Team USA could be arrogant. And my question is, do you think the society, the sports society and the society in general, is not ready to deal with confident women that know their capacity?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think that that's part of it, obviously. I think we have a particular lightness about us as well that maybe people take as aloofness or, thinking that we're too good or whatever. But I think so much of what we have to shoulder all of the time is heavy. I think that it's, no secret that we're sort of the leaders in the women's game in a lot of different issues, equality and pay equality and gender issues, and just at large, our team has been very open and very willing to, sort of get in any kind of equality fight. And so when we get the chance to play and, showcase our skill set and, be free on the field, we work hard and play hard. I said that before. We think that the game should be played with exuberance. The whole point of the game is to score a goal. I actually get on my teammates sometimes, like, you guys got to pick a game up. Like, you can't score a goal and be like, yeah, scored a goal. That's, it's like the whole point. So I think that dynamic is playing a lot. Obviously, we have to take on a lot off the field. And when we get our chance, especially at the World Cup, this comes every 4 years. Nothing's guaranteed. Some players might only play in one. You're lucky if you get to play in multiple. So this is the most incredible stage you could ever be on as a football player, and we are going to enjoy it no matter what.
So thank you very much for attending the press conference. Thank you very much, Jill Ellis and Megan Rapinoe. Good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.